Hi, I'm Barbara Rimkunis, and this is your Exeter History Minute. Where did Exeter stand in the build-up to the American Revolution? I mean, was this town just dragged into it through peer pressure? Not by a long shot. For a quick background, Europeans began arriving in this area during the 1630s. Exeter becomes a named town in 1638. They called it the New World, even though it was the Old World for all the people who'd been living here for thousands of years. There were wars and skirmishes for the next 100 years or so, but the first big one was what we call the French and Indian War, what the Brits call the 7 Years' War. Basically, all the major European powers fought against one another pretty much all over the world for 7 years. This kind of thing is very expensive. To pay for it, Great Britain decided to levy taxes and tariffs on the American colonies, who took some exception to this. Americans were also miffed that they didn't have a say about it. At least the white men who owned property wanted a say. Everyone else, shh. Later. New Hampshire had a fairly decent royal governor at the time. His name was John Wentworth, who should not in any way be confused with the two other John Wentworths who served in various capacities during the Revolution, because they were on the American side. Governor John Wentworth tried to keep the New Hampshire province out of trouble. He standardized training for the militia, and after the Boston Tea Party resulted in Britain closing the port of Boston, he made sure that when tea ships arrived in Portsmouth, there were no shenanigans, and he quietly shipped the tea to Halifax. New Hampshire folks were mad anyway, so they met at Exeter and voted to send £100 to help support the occupied population at Boston. This meeting, called the First Provincial Congress, was the first time Exeter became a player in this whole thing. Why Exeter? The town was inland, safe from attack, yet it still had access to the sea by river. Also, Portsmouth was crawling with Tories. The town also had a solid powder house for gunpowder storage that had been built for no particular reason in 1771. What were they thinking? Don't know. In December of 1774, British troops were organizing and drilling around the city of Boston. Everyone here in New Hampshire knew that there were stores of gunpowder, arms, and cannons at Fort William and Mary in Newcastle. On December 14th, Paul Revere, yes, that Paul Revere, rode up from Boston to warn people that, you guessed it, the redcoats were coming to claim their arms. Men from all around Portsmouth, including a group from Exeter, stormed the fort and stole the gunpowder. It was hidden away all around the seacoast towns. In January of 1775, just a few weeks after the raid, the Second Provincial Congress met in Exeter. They were planning, organizing. They were still an extra legal body at that point. The April battles of Lexington and Concord followed, and the Third Provincial Congress met in Exeter, New Hampshire. Men were called up and deployed to Cambridge to support the American forces. Thank goodness we had a solid militia. Who'd recently strengthened the militia? Oh, Governor John Wentworth. That's right. In May of 1775, the Fourth Provincial Congress decided to ignore the royal government and assume authority over the province. A committee of safety was created to govern during the times when the Congress wasn't meeting, just to keep things running. By this time, Governor Wentworth was feeling the pressure. He fled Portsmouth for Newcastle just before the Battle of Bunker Hill in June. Americans lost that battle, but one result was the total collapse of the royal government in New Hampshire. But there was still that not quite legal Provincial Congress in Exeter, which declared a qualified independence in January of 1776. Qualified because, and I'm paraphrasing here, it said, we're just going to govern ourselves because the governor ran away, but if this can be resolved, we're happy to become British again, because we are British and not rebels. But we are rebels. You're not the boss of us. Unless it all works out, then we're totally okay with it. We'll have to pick up the story from here a little later on. But if you want more information about the town of Exeter, New Hampshire, visit our website at www.exeterhistory.org.